Finally, Toyota has brought the huge US market Tundra dual cab ute to Australia to mix it with the other plus size utes that are currently on our roads. So how does a Toyota tangle with the other buff trucks? Let's find out. Okay, let's address the price from the outset. For the entry-level one, which is called the Limited, that'll be $169,500 drive away, while the Platinum model, which is this one we have here today, will cost $187,000 drive away, or a little touch over that. So yes, it is pricey compared to its key rivals, the Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, and the Ram 1500. It does also make it the most expensive Toyota ever sold in Australia at $12,000 to $25,000 more than those rivals. But it did make sense for Toyota to bring the vehicle here. There was an almost ready-made version of the car in the US being sold. And it was clear also that there was a strong market here for these vehicles, even though they were that expensive. So here we are in Australia, right-hand drive Toyota Tundra. So pretty imposing front end in the Tundra. It's got a lot of cooling to do with this sort of intake area, but at the same time, it's got a lot of imposing to do, perhaps with other traffic too. Coming down the side of the vehicle, different coloured wheels on this Platinum model, big Platinum badge to let people know that you paid the extra for the Platinum. Down the back here, there's a really nicely integrated button that releases the tailgate, which is electric. If you've got armloads of stuff, you just give it a nudge and it'll close for you as well. The Tundra's big ticket item, of course, is its 4.5 tonne towing capacity, about a tonne more than most of the regular size utes that you see on our roads. So it is about $100,000 more than the regular utes like a Ranger or a Hilux. But what that does get you is an extra safety buffer so that the vehicle's not operating at its absolute limits for extended periods in often harsh conditions all over the country. And it gives you that peace of mind. The Tundra, of course, does have a spare tyre, and it is technically a space saver, but it's only slightly smaller than the road tyres, and it will be plenty to get you where you're going. Okay, let's talk about the Tundra's cargo bed. I'll open the tailgate here. Tonneau cover is quite an unusual one. It's in sections rather than one that rolls up into a box at the front of the bed. It folds up like this. There's these little wire releases and folds all the way up like that. And then for when you're driving, there are these little stays which you can secure like that to prevent the cover from falling down. There's another one on the other side. So a few features worth mentioning about the cargo bed itself. There are those tie-down loops along the top of the bed on both sides. There's also some fixed ones on each corner down the lower section of the bed. The liner itself is a screw-in one, not a spray-in, which is preferable. There's some lighting as well in the centre at the top on both sides of the tub. And there's also a blanking plate on the right-hand side at the back of the tub, which is for a power outlet in other markets, not available in Australia. So obviously there's a bit of a problem in terms of visibility out the back. Well, of course, Toyota have thought of that. And that is a camera mounted above the back window that does the job of the rear view mirror. There's also another dedicated camera that looks into the cargo area, which allows you to keep an eye on what you're carrying while you're on the move. As far as the rest of the interior is concerned, it's really well laid out, pretty logical and user-friendly. There's a good amount of buttons as well, which is a refreshing change after driving some vehicles where most of the controls are through the screen. There are a few little idiosyncrasies associated with the vehicle being converted from left-hand drive to right-hand drive. They include the menu bar for CarPlay is on the left-hand side indicators as well in the stalk, volume controls on the left, and the synchronization of the climate control, the master is on the left. So none of these are major issues, and frankly, they're just curiosities really that indicate the vehicle's origins. Storage in the front of the vehicle is excellent when it comes to oddments. There are door pockets for 2 water bottles. There's a charging for the phone, and there's also another spot for one that doesn't have a charging pad. The central storage area here is absolutely huge. You can almost fit a pair of sneakers in there and a few other bits and pieces. It's quite big. There's some charging points as well in there. There's another smaller oddments tray on top of that. So as well as the cup holders on the front, there's cup holders on the back of the console for the rear passengers, plus more cup holders in the centre armrest as well, of course. The interior on this Platinum model is all leather, and there's heating and ventilation for the 2 outer rear seats and the 2 front seats. The 2 front seats also have a massaging feature. There's 6 different massaging styles for you to select from. It's particularly effective, I've got to say. So on the open road, the Tundra does sort of feel a lot more at home, and its size is just not an issue at all. And it's been said that the Tundra shrinks around you when you're driving it. I think that only really applies when you're driving it on the country roads. And in the city, it seems to get bigger. It really does feel pretty big and cumbersome in little car parks. On the open road though, it's a completely different story, and really is the sort of vehicle that you'd want and that you'd be inclined to drive across the country. First time you take off in the Tundra, you definitely can hear the sound of that engine noise coming through. Even though it's only a V6, it sounds like a V8. Makes the driving experience a little bit more enjoyable, and it also makes it sound a lot less like a hybrid, which it is, of course, but a very different hybrid from a Prius or from a Toyota Corolla, in that while they're both hybrids, this Tundra has still got a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it's separate from the electric motor generator. What that does is it gives you a lot of extra capability in that the drivetrain retains a prop shaft going to the back axle. There's a rear differential, a proper mechanical differential, and not an electric motor on the rear axle as you get in those other smaller Toyota hybrids. Fuel economy is pretty variable. So on the open road on the highway at 100 k's an hour, with no trailer on the back, it'll use somewhere in the region of 12.5 to 13 litres per 100. Driving around town, where hybrids tend to be at their best, the Tundra will get about 13.5. But if you do hook it up to a trailer and suddenly you're needing to use the petrol twin turbo V6 a lot more often, it's going to go through significantly more fuel. And you need to account for that. Even though it's got a 122 litre tank, your range is going to be significantly less with a big trailer on the back. So around town with that size tank, 122 litres, expect to get about 800 kilometres per tank before you start getting nervous about filling up. So that's pretty good for a vehicle this size and this powerful, but just need to account for when you're towing some heavy loads, of course that's going to go down significantly. Safety wise, the Tundra is very well equipped. It's got auto braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, active cruise, plenty of airbags, but it doesn't have an ANCAP safety rating, although it does rate well in its home market in the US. We do have four-wheel drive capability, of course. We can try that out right here. Away we go. Definitely feels a lot more sure-footed going up the hill in 4 high. Easy. So with that twin turbo 3.4 litre V6 under the bonnet, plus the extra help of the electric motor generator in the hybrid system, combined, all of that puts out 326 kilowatts and 790 newton meters. Plenty of grunt. That makes even a big thing like this, weighing, coming up to 3 tons, pretty sprightly still. There's no getting away from its mass. You can really feel it, but there's still plenty of punch there. It is a little bit amusing that in a vehicle this size, this long, designed for a bit of off-roading and towing big heavy loads, also has a sport mode. Doesn't turn it into a MX-5, that's for sure. But that's not what this thing's all about. So what do we like about the Toyota Tundra? Well, there is of course its huge towing capability. It's also reasonably economical for its size. Plus, it does a great job of utilising electrification without affecting range. And what do we dislike? Well, that huge size can be pretty impractical in urban areas, and servicing is 6 monthly and $450 a pop. And of course, there's that purchase price. The Tundra is at its best on the open road with a big trailer in tow. Conversely, in urban areas, its size is a big hindrance. But it's not just the Tundra's capability that brings peace of mind. The brand's support network covers most of the country. And then there's also Toyota's renowned resale value. It's smooth and quiet and sometimes even fun to drive. And that's why we reckon the Tundra should be on your big ute test drive list.